I am currently on Black Lives Matter Place, which, if I turn around, you will hopefully be able to see the words Black Lives Matter are written in the street behind me. That was done over the summer. Behind me this way, you can see the Washington Monument, and in front of it, the White House, where I'm going to take you on a little tour of the way around the outside of the White House. We'll see some of the protests that are happening early. It's very early in the morning. It's well, I say very early. It's 8 o'clock in the morning, and people are already gathering outside the White House, outside Lafayette Square. This has been a sort of a flashpoint for demonstrations in previous years, and particularly since sort of this summer with the Black Lives Matter movement, and the George Floyd protests. President Trump has never been a fan of the right to protest. So if you can see that that big fence behind me, which has a bunch of stuff hanging off it, that fence was put there in about July. There is a big park behind it, which you currently can't get into. You used to be able to get a lot closer to the White House than you can now. Right, so the first question, Kate Cole asks who's in the lead. You always start with the easy ones. According to the polls, Joe Biden is in the lead, both in the national sort of popular vote polls and if you sort of count up the state polls. Either way you look at it, Joe Biden is in the lead. If the polls are correct, he's going to win. However, there is always a but. Polls have been wrong before. A lot of people are very superstitious like this because they remember how wrong the polls were in 2016 when Donald Trump got elected. It's worth remembering that Joe Biden is further ahead in the polls than Hillary Clinton was back in 2016. But yeah, who am I voting for? I don't get to vote. Sorry, Eunice in the chat asked me who I am voting for. I don't get to vote, both because I'm not an American citizen, and also because I'm a journalist. I don't tend to vote in other people's elections. I think that's probably not a great idea. Jasmine says, should we be nervous about how people will react on either side? I don't know whether we should be nervous about it, but people are. As we walk around the corner ahead of me, we'll start to see that a lot of the businesses on the blocks surrounding the White House have boarded themselves up. And that started to happen a couple of days ago. There is sort of an expectation there will be some kind of protest on the night, really, whatever the outcome is. But the feeling is that the thing that would sort of spark the most furious of protests would be if it looks like Trump has lost and he claims that he's won, which is not as unlikely a prospect as you might want to think. Over the last few months, the president has repeatedly refused to guarantee that he would have a peace transfer of power. He has repeatedly claimed that votes that are counted after election day are vulnerable to fraud, which they're not. The reason a lot of votes might be coming in after election day is because there is a global pandemic happening, and a lot of people are voting by mail. Another thing that's worth remembering is that people have voted by mail in the United States for decades, and those people are the armed forces. Armed forces officers serving overseas have always voted by mail. They've always shown up, often days after the election, and they always get counted. So if someone tries to tell you that's unusual, it's not. How bad is COVID over there, where you are in the country? In Washington, it's not bad. They are being strict about some things, like mask wearing. I'm not wearing a mask now because I'm drinking a coffee, and you're allowed to not wear a mask when you're eating and drinking. But at all other times, if you're outdoors, indoors, wherever, you have to wear a mask, unless you're in your own home, or in my case, in my hotel room. Other than that, some states it's getting worse, and it's getting sort of significantly worse. They appear to be on the sort of the same train that the UK is, with the second spike in some places being worse than the first. The number of cases and deaths are going up, and the president is claiming that the reason they have so many cases is because they're doing so much testing, which really doesn't explain why the number of deaths are going up as well. He also claimed a few days ago at a rally that doctors are putting the cause death as COVID-19 down in cases where people have died of something else because they get paid more money, which is absolute nonsense. Paddy asks, will Trump blame China if he loses? No, I think Trump will blame the left if he loses. If he loses, he will try and make out that it has been a fraud. He will blame postal ballots. He will blame early voting. He will blame the Supreme Court for allowing states to keep their counting open for a couple of days after the deadline to allow for postal votes. He'll blame everyone. I don't think he's going to blame China. But, never rule anything out. John says, if Biden wins, is Trump likely to oppose democracy and somehow cling on to power? I think if he can, he will try. You never want to assume that the President of the United States is going to do something as manifestly undemocratic as try and cling on to power when he's lost the election. But also, two things. One, it's Donald Trump, and he's been saying literally out loud that that's exactly what he's going to do for months. And secondly, we've never seen what happens when Trump loses. That's what's making me a little nervous of late. We've never seen what he does when he loses. He's always managed to either win, get lucky, or sort of cheat in some way, which in a way that has allowed him to cling on to power. Right, the lovely marble building you're seeing behind me is, I believe, the Eisenhower Executive Office Building. It used to be called the old Executive Office Building until people decided that wasn't a very nice name for such a lovely building. So that's what that is. A lot of sort of White House staffers have their office in there. You can't technically say you work in the White House if you've got an office in there, but a lot of people do. I am just opposite the Federal Deposit Finance Corporation. I have no idea what that is. Shaz in the chat says, when will we know for sure? Another very good question, to which I do not have a good answer. If you're looking to go to bed at a nice time tonight, keep an eye on Florida. So Florida is going to be the first indication of how the night's going to go. Or at least whether it's going to be a short night or a long week. So a lot of states are saying they're not going to be in a position to declare a result for several days. The TV networks, and when on election night, when you say someone has called the election, what that actually is the TV networks and the Associated Press saying that they've got enough information to make a projection that that person has won. Now, none of the networks are comfortable with doing that to any great degree this year, for various reasons, mainly because of the number of postal ballots coming in, which are very difficult to exit poll for, and which take a long time to be counted. And most states can't start counting until polls close. Now, having said that, Florida has been counting them already, and Florida has gotten very good at awkward situations as far as election counts are concerned. You may remember the seasonal election, which dragged on for months, mainly because of a few disputed votes in the state of Florida. So they've gotten really good at this now. So we're expecting, as it was in 2016, that Florida will call fairly early. And excuse me, just walking up a very large truck. Oh wow! Oh, you're getting breaking news as I'm learning it. This fence has been erected since yesterday. They have closed off the entire of President's Park. That's extraordinary. So, if you look behind me, that there is President's Park. If you look all way over there, that used to be the closest you could get to the White House. Now I'm going to be walking down here until we get to the end of this fence, but it looks very much like they've kept their words. There were some suggestions that they were going to block off most of President's Park, and it seems like they've followed through on it. Is it true the Republicans messed with the postal vote boxes? Now, that is a good question. What the Republicans are doing as far as postal vote boxes is concerned is Republicans are looking for any sort of slight minor fraction of the rules so they can discount as many votes as possible. So there were a number of lawsuits in various states about how many drop boxes they could have, which are like post boxes where you can drop your ballot and it doesn't have to get through the mail, it just gets picked up. There was some lawsuits about how many you can have in a state and whether you can have them at all. And it was all a little bit ugly. But as far as messing with them, I don't think so. If they're going to try and change the outcome of this election, it's going to be through the courts. So I'm still walking, and I still can't see the end of this fence. This is extraordinary. It used to call the White House the People's Park. Sorry, the People's House. People's House. I'm not sure you call it that now. Which famous people? Biden and who gets Trump? Okay. So last night in Pittsburgh, Lady Gaga appeared at a rally with Joe Biden. Elsewhere, I think in Philly, you had John Legend, and you had Common, and they performed at a rally with Biden's running mate Kamala Harris. John Bon Jovi, big Biden fan. Bruce Springsteen has done an ad for him, I believe. As far as Trump is concerned, it tends to be people on the slightly more country rock end of the spectrum, the celebrity spectrum. A lot of people who don't necessarily translate well to the UK. But last night at his rally in Grand Rapids, his final rally, could well be his final campaign rally of his entire life, his entire career. A gentleman called Lil Pump, who's a rapper. I confess I was not familiar with his oeuvre before I got up on stage in Grand Rapids and did a little speech. But the funny bit was that it seems that Donald Trump was not particularly familiar with his oeuvre either, and referred to him in the first case as Lil Pimp, which is not his name. I also have to question how many of the MAGA crowd in Grand Rapids had heard of him. They didn't seem to know who he was. What are their biggest political differences? Wow. Okay, so it's in general between sort of Democrats and Republicans, it's a left-right thing. You could say the Democrats are like Labour, the Republicans are like the Conservatives. There are some particular sort of flashpoints between the two parties. The main ones for the Republicans are they are anti-abortion. Democrats are very pro what they call over here organised labour, which is basically membership trade unions, which Republicans not so much into. We did a Trump versus Biden on the policies, on the issues article. But if I'm being perfectly honest, it was, with the exception of a few things, it was quite hard to get a clear Donald Trump policy on any of the issues. I've come to the end of this fence, and if I were to put it in terms of football pitches, I'd say it's a solid pitch and a half, 2 pitches that they've added onto the length. They've added onto how close you can get to the White House, which is quite extraordinary. I feel like I've said that a number of times. What's the best way to watch election coverage in the UK? The best way to watch election coverage in the UK is to go to mirror.co.uk/politics, where you'll find our live coverage all through the night and into the early hours. If you want it on a big telly, BBC and Sky will have coverage. I was with some of the people from Sky last night. They were all very excited about being here. If you cable or satellite TV, you might be able to get CNN, where you'll have the lovely Wolf Blitzer giving you news through the night and beyond. I am at the bottom of the park now. Hopefully, if I come up here, you can see behind me the other side of the White House, in the very, very far distance. And behind me, the other way, the Washington Monument. Right, I'm going to leave you there. Thanks for being with me. If we didn't get to all your questions, if you have any more, I'm at Mikey Smith on Twitter. I might be having a few hours pit this afternoon, but aside from that, thanks for joining us.